The Spot Track Podcast, talking sports contracts, the salary cap, and business of sports.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the SpotTrack.com podcast. I'm Kevin Sylvester along with Paul Peck and the founder of SpotTrack.com, Mike Giannetti. Tons to talk about. We're going to talk about baseball pretty much being set. We've got NHL news to get to, but we're going to start with the straw that stirs the drink, Paul. That is NFL football.
It always is. It's they stir the drink on TV. They stir the drink on the field. They stir the drink in the accountant's office. It's always about the quarterbacks, and it was a cool moment on Monday Night Football to see Drew Brees break the all-time passing mark. Mike, not a shock. He's been an amazing story, an amazing career, particularly as they talked about, and for any football fan that knows that, there was some thought that he was never going to play again, and when he got hurt, and there were serious doubts about the shoulder injury. It's why the Chargers let him go. It's why the Dolphins didn't sign him. So when you think about where his career has gone based on all of that, it's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, I think it's hard to argue right now. I think the argument to make is kind of where he ranks now, right? I mean, he's got the record. He's going to have 500 touchdowns probably next week. Would have been cool to see that happen, by the way.
Yeah.
Sort of back-to-back drives.
Yep.
I thought that was terrible play calling, by the way.
I thought it was brilliant.
What, not letting him...
Taysom Hill? Oh, that was brilliant.
Well, yeah, but the game was already come on, let Brees get it. The game was... There was no question in the outcome of that game, in my opinion.
But now you can market it for next week.
Okay.
Right? I mean,
I watched Drew
business, Kevin.
Listen, I watched Drew Brees any week because the guy's incredible.
Me too. Let's talk about it because I want to step away from like the Mahomes and the Goffs and sort of the normal conversation lately, because we've got a list of quarterbacks and really it's the highest paid players of all time. That's really where we are. I mean, you're talking about the quarterback. That's going to be how it ranks. But these are not your young, whippersnappers here. These are your guys.
And that's amazing in itself. I mean, the longevity of the careers of the Bradys and the Breeses, for them to be doing what they're doing at their age just belies any other metric of professional sports that we think of.
But there's a handful of them. Right?
Well,
it's not just one
I'm
or
saying
two.
that they're blowing it out of the water because they're not just outliers. It's becoming the trend now, and it's going to continue that way with the way the quarterbacks are being protected. Oh, yeah.
You think so?
I believe so. I do. I think there's a reason why those guys have played as long as they have, because they don't normally ever get hit, and they're getting hit less than they ever have before now.
Well, they get hit. They are protected more. They get hit.
Yeah, but they don't get hit like guys in the 70s and 80s and 90s got hit.
Did you watch the Sunday night game?
Alex Smith got hammered last night.
Deshaun Watson
but he was running. But he was running. Stay in the pocket, you don't get hit.
That was senseless football. Is that what that was?
And I guarantee you that conversation happened in Houston this week. Either from the owner to the coach to the general manager somewhere, like, tell him to stop running.
I'm watching with a buddy, and
no way.
I cannot believe that Bill O'Brien didn't pull him aside and say, no, we're done with that.
Right
away. How did it happen 3 more times?
I know.
You're surprised, Kevin?
Great. He's got a big motor and he wants to play hard. That's dumb.
It's
dumb football.
He hasn't made his money yet. And let's end the conversation.
He has not made his money yet. The list goes on. Taylor, man, they've all been hit. Everybody but Russell Wilson's been hit outside of the pocket.
Marcus Mariota's learned his lesson.
Yeah.
If you watch the Bills
and he's a different
Titans
quarterback
games,
now.
Different quarterback
and that's
now.
what happens. They come back and they're not the same player, and that's fine.
Yeah, because they're told to do they're told to no longer do what got them to where they are.
I put that on Bill O'Brien. He's got to pull that guy aside and say, listen, man, you've got 12 years left. Right? Yeah. You've got 12 years left. You got to dial it down with that, because we don't need that extra yard. We don't need it.
Yeah. Or the general manager pulls O'Brien and says, do you know who our backup is?
Yeah.
Will you tell him to stop?
No, I'm going to take it from the agent perspective.
That's right.
I'm calling my client saying, hey, look.
I'm running on the field.
Mike Giannetti at SpotTrack.com's got a list. Okay, look at how many years these guys have played, how much money they've made. We're going to make money together. You're not going to run. You're going to become a pocket player because your arm's good enough, you're smart enough, and people like you. That's the Stuart Smalley version of it. And so we're going to make some money.
But it's not like he's Aaron Rodgers. Right, he hasn't signed the contract yet.
No, he's
not. He's Le'Veon Bell right now. He's Earl Thomas. Earl Thomas has made some money. He's Le'Veon Bell right now. Okay, he's Aaron Donald and Khalil Mack 2 months ago. He's on the cusp of what looks like, in maybe in 18 months he's going to have $130 million. Right?
Yes.
I mean, that's where he's trending. He's got to be smarter than that. There is you trade 2 yards for $100 million is what you do here. You got to be smart about it. let's get back to the
not even the money that the success of your team depends on you, and it depends on you being healthy.
He's trying
and being
to do too
out
much
there.
at this point.
So a 2-yard gain is letting the other 52 guys down.
Yeah, shame on Houston for the running game, really, right? Because he's trying to do everything. That's the
hand off to Blue.
What's going on here.
Let your boy Blue run, right? From what was the movie there?
Old School.
Old School.
I was going to say how many more movie references are you working in here? So,
well, anyway, Blue was the best character in that movie, and he's the best running back on the Texans.
All right,
to your list.
I've got I broke down a little chart here, and I'm gonna tweet it after the show here, so we can sort of have this conversation online and going forward. Basically, what I did is I took the top earners. They're all quarterbacks. There's, I think, 10 of them here. I show you the win percentage that they've got. I show you their completion percentage, yardage and touchdowns, and then their regular season and postseason quarterback ratings, and then obviously Super Bowl wins, because for one of them, that's a big deal.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
For obviously.
It's a standout number.
And really, I want people to look at this list, and we can look at it here and just assess which columns matter the most. Obviously, the money's been made. You're seeing the value in Brady. I mean, you can see that. Here's the list: Peyton Manning, Eli Manning. Those are your top 2 all-time earners right there. Brees is right behind Eli. I don't think he's going to catch him, though. Then you've got Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, Matt Ryan, Matthew Stafford. Those are your top 10 all-time earners right there, and they're all quarterbacks. So the differences are small in some cases, large in others. And obviously, when you look at this list, you're going to look at Brady's numbers, and you're going to be baffled. He's been worth almost $1 million a win over the course of his career, which is unbelievable. That's unbelievable.
That is
the
incredible.
Patriots can get that. I mean, in retrospect, Eli Manning's $2.1 million a win. So just based on what he hasn't done on the field, and look at his completion percentage. By the way, that's just phenomenal to me. That stands out like a sore thumb. He's almost under 60 for a career. And he's still starting for the Giants. 15 years in.
It is the outlier of the group.
He's
the runt of this group.
He's won 2 Super Bowls. Not to take anything away from, but that's my point. Thank you.
That's the sentence.
You said that better than I could. He's won 2 Super Bowls, and all the rest of it has never been really that good.
Not even above average, I don't think.
I think it's remarkable that they have identical playoff ratings.
Yeah.
Of 87.4.
Eli and Peyton.
Yes.
I know. Yeah, and it's they're some of the lowest among this group.
Yeah,
they are not postseason quarterbacks for sure. Who is? Drew Brees is. Drew Brees is. All right, and look at Drew Brees' numbers are ridiculous. They're ridiculous. If you haven't really looked, obviously last night was a microscope into the yardage, and we saw that the touchdowns are climbing. He's 18 years in. He's probably going to be back next year. He's going to have ridiculous numbers by the time this is all done.
Not to rain on the Drew Brees parade.
Okay,
should he have won more than he has?
Oh yeah.
That's because I think
problem.
of Drew Brees being a yardage guy, throw it around guy, put up big fantasy numbers guy, but I don't think of him in the same vein as some of these other quarterbacks as far as
I guess my
winning.
Point is
and
should,
if I
though.
need to win a big game, I want Drew Brees. To me, Drew Brees has had the perfect coach and the perfect system built completely around him, and I don't know that always has been the most successful.
Well, so you mean win in the regular season or win Super Bowls?
Both.
He's one behind Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
In Super Bowl wins. So how many?
Yeah, I want to talk about this.
I mean, how many Super Bowls should Drew Brees have had won?
And Peyton was pretty much gifted his second one. Let's be fair here.
Yes,
he had absolutely nothing to do with his second
incredible
Super Bowl
defense, and they handled the ball off.
Well, then maybe Peyton Manning and Drew Brees have more in common outside of those Super Bowls than we all think. But we all, I think, put Peyton Manning way up here, and Drew Brees maybe in another tier.
I actually think you're not wrong there, and I think your point is good, Kevin. I think the Saints spent a hell of a lot too much time trying to build up a big defense when they had a guy who could run the best offense in the league for a decade. More than a decade, right?
And yes. in Indy, they understood that.
That's right.
In Indy, they're like, we're not going to spend any money on defense. This guy scores 38 points a game for us.
What are we seeing now? We're seeing teams literally give away defensive options in order to build up an offense. They want 7 weapons. They want a quarterback who's decently paid if they have to, right? Unless he's, on a rookie contract.
And again, I don't want to take anything away from Drew Brees, but the world we live in now is all about the numbers and the stats. And I think sometimes I'm not saying he's not great, but to me, Drew Brees has been always more about the numbers, the stats, the yardage, the rolling up, making your fantasy team happy, sometimes more than the team success. And that's not on Drew. I'm not saying that. That's how I think of it.
You're saying his numbers are padded.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
But that's not a Drew Brees problem. That's a Saints problem.
Correct.
That's a team-building problem.
I think the Saints go to the Super Bowl last year if their safety didn't make a bonehead play.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you on that. I don't disagree with you.
It's not on him.
I don't think they win it, though.
I don't know about that.
I don't think that team was ready to win it, but
I don't know about that.
Boy, they look like they might now.
They look good.
I mean, that Marcus Davenport pick is actually coming to fruition.
People killed that draft pick, killed that trade.
I'm still going to kill it. It's awful value.
Well, but it may prove to be the thing that puts him over the edge.
He looks good. That was a breakout game for him, for sure, as well as Traquan Smith, who, boy, if they've got a third receiver like that, my goodness.
Yes.
My goodness. But, yeah, I agree with you. I think he has been a victim of tough team building. They've been one of the worst cap teams for the last 10 years. Better now. The first 5 years of this recent CBA, from 2011 to 2015, they were one of the worst built teams financially that was out there. Them and the Cowboys. I'd put the Eagles in that conversation. The Chiefs coming out of the gate were awful. They were all defensively built. They had to literally give up everybody to start over, and now obviously it's working out. But I think the Chiefs are the perfect sort of negative model for what the Saints should have been in Drew Brees' entire career. They really spent too much on trying to stop people when they had the guy who could go out there and throw 500 yards every week. All you had to do was outscore him.
I'll tell you a quick little story, and I don't know if any, for people that have listened, and I think it's a wonderful book to read. Bill Polian's book is wonderful. But the point that he made in it was when he was running the Colts, he understood that he had Peyton Manning and all these offensive weapons, and he understood that whatever the percentage was going to be, 65-35, 70-30, spending was going to be on offense. And they weren't going, and he told Tony Dungy, you need to run a defensive system that will allow you to bring a rookie in, make him comfortable, let them help us win, because I'm not going to be able to re-sign your veterans. We're just not going to be able to do it on defense. So don't make this defense more complicated than it has to be for us to be able to go bring some young talent in, play them, hold opponents to 28 points while Peyton and the guys score 38. That's going to win us a lot of games.
That's right.
For me, it's been an incredible lesson on how you really have to build a team. We would all love it to be 50-50, and we'd all love it to be a solid mix, and I hear it already with Kansas City. Oh, they're the worst defense. This defense is horrible. They're the worst defense. They're undefeated. They don't care.
They're good enough.
They don't care. Their offense is going to score 40 points a game.
Yeah, there's definitely an internal number, right? What is the number we have to hold them to in order to win, right?
Somebody whiz in your coffee this morning?
This is good stuff. I like this.
I should have had another coffee to keep up here.
Oh, my God.
I like this stuff.
All right. Hey, I want to point some out in your money on your list. I assume they had the same agent, the Mannings.
Yeah.
All right.
In fact, most of these guys have Tom Condon.
Okay, I'm just saying, well, Tom
he
Condon...
should be on that list.
He's above this list. Are you kidding me?
I'm figuring at 3%, Tom Condon's made $14.5 million off of the Manning brothers.
Yeah.
There you go.
Just off of those two.
Yeah, he's doing all right.
Wow.
Yep.
That's pretty damn good.
He's doing all right.
Okay.
Hey, let's go quick. Where's Brees ranking here? Just off the cuff.
Based on what?
Well, Brady's number one.
What is most important to you? Brady's your number one because of the Super Bowls?
Because of the Super Bowls, but because of everything. The winning, the ability to make people around him better, the fact that we can only rattle off 3 or 4 really good receivers he's ever played with. To me, that's what I want my quarterback to be able to elevate everything around him.
I would go, if I had to rank quarterbacks in order that I would take, all right? If I got to play one game, I want to be my quarterback. Brady's one.
We're talking this generation.
This generation of quarterbacks, because, Montana's got to figure
I don't want to get into that conversation,
All right, Brady's one.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning's 2.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. And Drew Brees is 3 for
those
me.
2 are very, very close for me.
Yeah.
Very, very close.
You know who I think should be higher on this list than it is based on your numbers here, Mike, is Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
I think he is one of those guys that has always been able to elevate people around him. He's tough. He can play through anything. He's never had always great receivers.
But he's had better defenses than any of these other quarterbacks.
That's a great point, Kevin. You're right about that. But again, that's not we can't fault him on that. But I think Roethlisberger, in my mind, it doesn't maybe get put in that upper tier when sometimes he's worthy of at least being in that conversation.
Okay. If Brees wins another one, does he pass Peyton for you?
No. Peyton was transcendent.
What if Rodgers wins another one?
Well,
because to me, he's the outlier here. We've said it a few times. We've had people come on the show and talk about it, that just pound for pound, skill-wise, Aaron Rodgers is the greatest quarterback in the history of football. Right?
What does pound for pound matter?
I don't know.
Drew Brees is 6 foot.
They're going to fight each other.
I was going to say, is that a short comment? I don't know.
They're going to fight.
Yeah.
How about us? How about Drew Brees doing what he's doing at a height that no one has ever been successful, rarely ever successful in the NFL?
I don't know. For me, what he does physically and mentally and from a leadership standpoint, and you see it every week. It's not like he's doing this for TV, right?
I'm going to ask you something about
what we
that,
saw
by the
last
way.
night was not for TV. That's Drew Brees every day in the huddle.
Sure, like he, because it was a cool moment with his boys.
Oh, the line?
But he had the mic on.
Yeah.
Like he knew he had a mic on.
So what?
Okay.
So what?
But in that moment, you're sending your sons a motivation. And boys, if you work hard, you can accomplish anything.
Was he reading it off his hand?
I don't know.
He's knelt over in front of his.
It's a poster that sits over the kid's bed.
No, here's the thing. It was really cool, but I'm like, this guy can't be that damn perfect.
That's what I'm saying. Doesn't it seem that way?
I think a lot of these guys on this list are that damn perfect, Kevin.
Here's my list.
It was pretty cool. It was a genuine moment, and it was cool with telling his boys, "I love you," and if you work hard, you can accomplish anything. Because he just did this amazing thing.
I agree.
And by the way, Washington, Monusky should be canned today, right?
Did anybody? Do you think they just let that happen? By the way,
It looked like they just let it happen.
I mean, was the fix in on that?
It certainly looked that way, did it not?
Good
the guy was wide open. That's ridiculous.
That was like the play that
His wife
sunk
listen,
the Saints last year.
If you had to write it, the ESPN, they couldn't have written it any better.
Yeah. Somebody passed the note down to Jay Gruden.
Right. Hey.
Yeah, we need to lay this one down.
They come back from commercial. Drew Brees' family, they're tracking camera on the sidelines. The next pass is for a 65-yard touchdown.
I wonder if we'll have to
it.
wait till next half. Oh, no, we'll just have it right now instead.
Exactly. Let's go to our crappy halftime
it was on
show.
The script and somebody cued. Okay, cue the record-setting touchdown pass.
And then let's cue Lil Wayne's taped music video.
Yeah,
All
well,
right, anyways.
whatever.
Here's my
I like
list.
Lil Wayne, by the way.
Yeah.
I do.
You got to make money somehow, Kevin.
Hey, have him perform live.
You know how much that costs?
Well, it would have been better than a music video. I can watch that online anytime.
Money, man. Money.
And
Money.
by the way, I had to sit through Lil Wayne during the Beckham thing that ESPN did on their pregame show the day before,
watching
too.
halftime? Flip over to baseball or something.
I used to host that kind of stuff, so
Well, and the baseball game was 10-1 when I flipped over.
I don't watch hockey intermissions anymore. Does that matter?
Salty wounds, huh?
No, because I'm like, it's a break.
That's right.
I used to get pissed
Go
when my
get a drink,
friends
go to
wouldn't
the
watch
bathroom.
it. I'm like, hey, you're not watching my show, and now I get it.
Here's my list before we switch here. Here's my list. It's Brady. It's hard not to 5 Super Bowls. This is going to trump everything, right? No matter how many yards he throws.
Well, plus with all the different receivers that he's made money.
Yeah, but I think Brees is in that. I think Peyton's in that conversation too.
I think Peyton.
Yes.
I think Peyton and Brees are in that. Yes, I agree.
I mean, Julius Thomas isn't a Hall of Fame tight end, and Pierre
Right.
Garçon's not a Hall of Fame wide receiver.
I think there are 4 quarterbacks in that category that they can do it with anybody.
Who's that? Go ahead.
Brees, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers.
That's my 4.
Those are the 4.
That's my 4. You can
no
rank them how you want
arguments.
them.
No arguments.
And Ben is slightly outside of that
Correct.
because he's had Hall of Famers around him.
Yes.
Le'Veon Bell is a Hall of Famer. Antonio Brown is a Hall of Famer. He's had players before this. I mean, he's had...
Right, and early in his
had some
career, he was
serious
put in a
players.
situation to succeed because they had such a great defense.
Yes.
That rookie year when he had a play, he was throwing the ball 12 times a game.
I question what Matt Ryan would be without Jones.
I think Matt Ryan's is the weakest quarterback on this list.
Weaker than Stafford.
I like Stafford more than Matt Ryan. I always have. I put Stafford more into a Ben Roethlisberger conversation because of his physicality, his ability to get around a little bit. Last thing, Ben Roethlisberger will always be underrated. Always. His numbers are never going to be the best.
No.
He's not going to win 5 Super Bowls. He's not going to have anything that makes him stand out.
What about Rivers?
But the
Rivers
throws
be
he's
underrated?
had to make under duress throughout his entire career. I mean, what is he, 36 now? Completely underrated. Ridiculously underrated. So is he a first ballot for you?
Roethlisberger? Yes.
Yes?
yeah.
Yes.
Are all of these guys? Is Eli going to the Hall of Fame?
I think he will.
Because of 2 Super Bowls?
Yes,
We've
I
got
think
to
so.
stop that, right?
Because of 2 Super Bowls, because of New York, because of, yes,
but
I
he's
think
been
so.
terrible in New York.
And because
He
it was
has
the
ruined the
Patriots that
Giants.
they beat.
Yes, because of who they beat. I think.
But it was a fluke play.
You are the only one that figured out a way, or basically the only one that figured out a way to beat the greatest dynasty in NFL history.
Well, actually, no, not the only one.
Well,
The Eagles just did it.
No, I know, but you did it twice.
Actually, that's the argument against Eli Manning, is that Nick Foles was able to do it.
I like it.
Right? That is an argument against Eli Manning.
Eli Manning should not be a Hall of Famer.
If Eli, well,
If he stays on this track right now, this year, and if he plays next year, he could play next year, he might have a completion percentage below 60%.
right.
How can that be a Hall of Famer?
and a ton of interceptions.
That's ridiculous.
too, right? He's probably got more interceptions than probably a couple of these guys.
He's the
combined.
lowest touchdown per game by far on this list. By far. He's honing in on 1.5.
Let's put it this way. If he gets in the Hall of Fame, and I think it'll be a heck of a debate,
I do too.
a great debate in there. I mean, his win percentage is just a shade over 50%. Completion percentage is the lowest there. These are all things that are going to go against
Touchdowns
him.
are the lowest. Ratings are the lowest.
Winning a Super Bowl doesn't automatically get you in,
I don't think it should.
but he's won 2. That matters. It does matter.
I get it.
And if he gets in, it'll be between he and Joe Namath, the 2 New York quarterbacks, in as far as, right? Doesn't many consider Joe Namath the worst quarterback in the Hall of Fame? If
Yeah.
there's such an oxymoronish thing to say.
But see, that's part of the problem of the world we live in now, where it's all about your stats and your numbers, And I can't say that I was alive in the era, but what Joe Namath did was transcendent for the sport in an era where they didn't throw the ball as much as they did.
We're just talking about
Win percentage.
We're just
Look
talking
at
about
Eli's win percentage is .51.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's
barely
bad.
50%. So you can't just talk about stats. He's not winning.
But I hear that all the time with Namath.
He's not
He
winning.
threw more interceptions than he did touchdowns. Well, but that wasn't what he was about. And I've learned over the years that it's not always all about the stats. That games sometimes dictate things beyond the stats. You have to look beyond the stats when you're looking at anybody in football.
Listen, he won 2 Super Bowls as the quarterback and beat Tom Brady in it. It's going to be an
I
interesting
agree.
conversation with it.
I think he's in.
And he may not be. He's not a first ballot.
He's
guy.
a no for me right now. He's a no. He has torched his career.
Well, I look at
He's
guys,
also a Manning too. Let's not
but
lose sight of that.
I also look at guys who are in that didn't win Super Bowls.
Sure.
Right?
And
Jim Kelly, Warren Moon,
Aren't there gonna
Dan
be-
Fouts.
There's going to be a few in this generation too, right?
You'd have to think.
Don't you
yes.
think?
Yes.
I think so. I think there's going to be a few, at least in the conversation. So maybe Eli just falls off this. Super Bowls shouldn't equal Hall of Fame. It shouldn't happen. Trent Dilfer's not going.
Well,
There's
but
Brad
he
Johnson.
won 1, and he hasn't been a starter for. He hasn't had the career Eli Manning's had.
That's great.
So
Is Flacco going?
no,
I bet you Flacco's numbers are pretty damn close to Eli Manning.
I bet they are too. He's not going. He only won once. Eli Manning. What helps Eli Manning is his playoff rating. It's the same as his brothers, right?
Yeah, but they're
In the big
neither of them
moments-
are good playoff quarterbacks.
Their playoff moments to win Super Bowls, that matters,
Yeah.
right? On the big stage.
Yeah.
So,
Peyton's going ahead of him. Brady's going ahead of him. Rodgers is going ahead of him.
sure.
Roethlisberger's going ahead of him.
Sure.
How about Philip
Brees
Rivers?
is going ahead of him. Philip Rivers has never won.
Yep.
His numbers are phenomenal. Philip Rivers has almost averaged 300 yards a game. He's 299 right now for his career, for a 15-year career.
That's crazy.
That's ridiculous. And he hasn't won anything.
He hasn't really
No.
won. No, he hasn't won anywhere as
But
much as he should.
Guess what his
have.
win percentage is? .55. It's better than Eli.
So maybe the Giants should have kept him.
Yeah.
Well, San Diego did, right?
Well, instead of Eli, right?
Well,
They only
they
traded
kept
for
Brees
each other,
Instead of
weren't they?
Brees. Yeah.
Right?
Kept
Yeah,
him
that
instead
was-
of Brees.
Okay.
That's an all-time move.
Right.
Oh, I got Leaf and Manning mixed up. Right? Wasn't the
No, Eli would not sign with San Diego.
right? And the Giants didn't they draft?
The Giants drafted him and traded him. They traded to the
Wait,
the
who
guy-
did the Giants draft though?
I thought they
the Giants drafted. Well, San Diego had the first pick
Yeah.
and drafted
Eli Manning.
And then what?
And then I don't remember whether the Giants drafted Rivers and they flipped him or whether they made the trade before the draft
Gotcha.
pick. I don't
Gotcha.
remember.
yeah,
sure.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how it went. I remember. We can look this up. But that's not.
It's
as
really
much fun.
funny that those two might be following themselves all the way to a Hall of Fame conversation.
Yeah.
And Rivers looks pretty good right now.
Listen, right now, if you had one game to play, you would take Phillip Rivers
For
over
sure.
Eli Manning.
Phillip could play
Yes.
4 more years, I think. He
Yes.
looks great out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He might get his Super Bowl this year.
It's a fascinating.
Maybe.
Yeah.
If there's anybody who doesn't belong on that list, I mean, out of all those quarterbacks right now on the list, he'd be the last guy I take.
His stats are by far the worst. His winning percentage is the worst. Everything's the worst except for 2 Super Bowl wins.
Right.
So, yeah, he's out for me right now. He's $235 million with 2 Super Bowls, but he's not a Hall of Famer in my belt.
I think it's
They can't all go, right?
It's hard to argue against it. It's like the wide receivers,
Yeah.
right? The Chris Carters, Andre Reeds, Tim Browns, right there, all eventually got in. Manning will be somebody who will eventually get in, I
Yes.
think. But he's not going to be a first ballot guy.
That's probably fair.
May not even be second ballot
Yeah.
guy. Depends who's coming up.
Yeah,
Right.
Because honestly, this list is going to become a retired list very, very soon. I mean, very soon.
All right, fascinating stuff on quarterbacks and the best QB of our generation. And it came down to Eli Manning. We'll have to
It's always
wait and
Eli.
We
see.
spent more time talking about one who might be the worst of that group.
Well, I mean,
That's okay. That's what made it fun.
he's an interesting
We're all
discussion point.
We're all in consensus that it's Brady, right? Of
yes.
of this
There's
generation.
Without
Any
no
question
doubt.
about it.
I think the
Greatest of all
conversation.
time in my case. I don't think you need.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I
Oh,
don't think.
Paul, we're not opening that can of worms.
All right,
I
that's
don't
another
care.
show.
Yeah, that's
Why you guys? You think that's not right?
It's debatable. It's
I'm not
debatable.
saying it's not debatable, but not for me.
It's debatable.
Not for me.
Let's move on to hockey. we don't have time to spend all this on them because NHL has had their opening week, and Mike's got some great information up at Spotrac.com on NHL opening week. The offseason spenders, the teams that didn't spend. You've got the cash payrolls from the highest cash payrolls, the lowest cash payrolls, and some notable notes. But let's look at the top offseason spenders.
Yeah.
And 3 teams. And by the way, all 3 teams in non-income tax states.
That's right.
I think
Interesting. Good
right.
pickup, Kevin.
Well, listen, I've always said if I were a free agent in sports, I would go play in one of 4 states in the United States. I'd go play in Nevada for a team. I'd play in Texas, Tennessee, or Florida.
That's right.
Because you automatically get a raise, and they can say, well, they price adjust for it. Hogwash. Your value is your value.
Yeah, and you're not able to with this cap.
No,
you can't do that anymore
in the cap. No,
Yeah.
Tampa Bay 157 schmil. Vegas, right, the team that made the Stanley Cup Finals last year, which was a remarkable story, 146 million, and then Dallas Stars at 129.
That's a good point. That's a really nice point to make. Except for the Florida Panthers, were the least, the lowest spender in the league.
Well, there's a reason for that too.
Yeah.
because their casino deal hasn't gone through yet.
Oh yeah, and they're tanking.
Yes.
Let's be fair here. They are flat out tanking.
Well, they tried to win,
Yeah.
in recent years,
Yeah.
and it
some good
hasn't
draft
worked.
picks.
So,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Now,
Vegas, by the way, has not had a great start to the year,
No, they're still finding their legs.
but
It's
they're on the
early.
East Coast. They're not they're
That's right.
unbelievable at home.
It's it shouldn't be lost that they're getting rid of that trip now. By
Correct.
the way, and they're going to ramp it up second half, right?
Yes.
Yes.
The non-spenders list, Chicago jumps out at you.
It does.
But I get why,
Yeah.
because they're so loaded with their salaries with Taves and Kane and Keith. There's not a whole lot of availability to spend.
Yeah, they're
And
where the
Seabrook.
Los Angeles Rams are going to be in 2 years, right? Or the Kansas City Chiefs. When the Roosters come to Crow here and everybody's got to get paid at the same time, you just can't find room for it, right? And they've made some trades. They've got the big guys that's sort of locked in. Taves and Kane have the same contract, which I
Yes.
think is cool. And they've sort of filled in some pieces from there. They were pretty bad last year, though, right? I mean,
They were a worn
it's a
out
big
hockey.
fall off.
Well, to me, they're a worn out hockey team.
That's
because you look at the star players they have, and you look at the last, I'll go 8 years.
Yeah.
They've played a ton of hockey
Into June.
in the playoffs. We'll throw in the Olympics.
Yeah.
International play, they're tired.
That's right.
They were a tired team last year.
That's right. And I think it might be time to flip the switch a little bit on that.
I saw Patrick Kane at a golf event
Yeah.
this past summer and just said, hey, how are you guys going to be? And he's like, we're going to be young.
Well, that's a good thing.
Goes to the money.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
They got to bring those guys along.
They've been building to the draft here for a couple of years
Yeah.
now to try to refresh that pool, and I think that's the right way to do it.
Yeah, and they couldn't keep Panarin. That's why
Panarin.
they make that trade with Columbus
right.
last year because they couldn't pay him.
There's probably another one coming too.
Sure.
Based on just the way their cap structure is right now and what they haven't done. financially, which we're seeing here, second lowest spenders this offseason. So I think there's more to come, but I do think that they've made smart draft picks. They have acquired some prospect talent to sort of replenish that pool. They'll be back, but it might be another tough year in Chicago, I think.
The cash payroll totals, not shocking. The Super Bowl Stanley Cup champion Washington Capitals at the top. San Jose, particularly with making the move to get Erik Karlsson.
Yeah. And paying Evander Kane, too.
Yeah, Edmonton surprises me to see them third. I know McDavid's making a lot, but they haven't gotten the return on being the third highest payroll. And then having to flip that around, Toronto, with one of the lowest payrolls, has had the return on it. So give us a little in-depth on that.
So let's talk Toronto, because Toronto is the second coming of Chicago here, essentially. They've got draft picks that all kind of came together at the same time. They're obviously all working. They've yet to even sign William Nylander.
Right.
A restricted free agent who's sort of been holding out Le'Veon Bell style here. And I don't know what's going to happen with that. There's been a lot of back and forth on it. I know what number he wants, which is ridiculous for a kid his age. I think the $8+ million for a kid that age is just silly. It's silly.
Not going to happen.
Yes, he's got a few goals, but he's maybe the fourth best offensive player in that team now, and that's saying something because he's probably an all-star. But I think Toronto's holding out because they know they really might not need him going forward, and if they don't want to put a 6-year deal on a kid that they probably have to get rid of in 2, right?
I think what he's asking for, the $8+, no. Yeah. You've got Tavares, and you're going to have to pay Matthews.
Yep, keep going.
And
Marner.
And Marner. But Nylander, he's a very good player.
Yeah.
But you're not better than those guys. Overall.
And from what I hear, a little tough in the locker room.
Yeah.
So there's some extracurricular stuff.
And you can only keep so many guys sometimes.
And they have to be thinking about 3 years. They can't just be thinking about 2018 because, yes, they're good enough to win right now. I don't know if defensively they're built well. I think there's probably some sketchiness there, but they've got a couple of kids there too that are going to have to get paid.
So that's where they could deal him, right?
That's right.
You can move him for help on the back end.
That's right.
But you can also look at, all right, is the longer you go to get to that point, then he becomes like you traded for him, and then it takes care of your deadline deal.
Yeah,
and having to make a move at the deadline,
meaning to sign him in February.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes. So. By bringing him into the fold, it's like you bolster the team, even though he's part of your team, but he hasn't been part of the team.
It's interesting.
So teams look at it like a trade. Like, wow, we got our guy signed in, bring him, he's in the lineup. Wow. And then all of a sudden, look out.
I guess the only thing that scares me...
Because the locker room looks for that stuff. The players
You're right.
Want to see that management is supporting it, and what are they going to add for the run? Believe me, all the guys in the room, you hear all the talk now, like, hey, all right, we got the group of guys to win in here. But as the season goes along, and you have some injuries, and a few bumps in the road, the leaders in the team know, all right, we need something.
So to me, that's the only thing that scares me is an injury, right? If any one of these top guys we talked about goes down, then Nylander's leverage goes.
That's correct,
right? And all of a sudden, you're paying this guy $7 million for 4 years, probably, right? And that's something they don't want to do. You've got to be able to sign Matthews in a year here. You're going to have to sign Marner. You're going to have to sign Jake Gardner. You're probably your top 2 blue liner, right?
Yep.
They still need a goalie, in my opinion. I think they're patchworking there, which is fine. I understand that. That's sort of how the game's going now.
You need to have your goaltender play great in the playoffs. Don't need a great goalie.
You're right.
You just need him to play great.
Well,
they lost 2 on waivers, by the way. 2
above average. That's right. That's what I mean. They're patching it together.
Yeah.
With arguably one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. So I don't know. It's interesting to see they're down there because they're young, but they're going to get hit soon here.
Well, Florida's tanking.
Yep.
They've got a goalie.
Yep.
That they could acquire.
Carolina's tanking.
They have one too.
They've got one too.
Yep. So there are goaltenders.
The Rangers are bad, and Lundqvist is sitting there, and he's on the backside of his career.
Boy, I just couldn't see.
It's a lot of money to take on.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
but it would just be weird not seeing him finish.
I think my point is the high-paid goalies are on pretty bad teams right now.
Yes, well, because they put the money on
Montreal.
Right, Montreal. That's right. That'll never happen. By the way, that deal, Carey Price from Montreal to Toronto. No way.
They did it.
No way.
They did it when all the other teams were publicly saying we can't do this anymore.
Correct.
And they still did it.
Yes.
As if to say, well, we're going to do it. We're going to be different.
He was their star.
They're going to show us, huh?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
And Nashville did it with Pecorine.
Yeah, they're trading offense to be able to pay their goalie. Yeah. I don't get it.
The window to pay your goaltender, it seems to me, anyways, the window.
It's the running back, Kevin.
It's the running back.
It's the running back.
Yeah, it is.
Your windows 3 to 5 years.
You got to have 2 above average ones. rather than one elite one, and you got it, and you can't pay them more than 75% of the market value. Can't do it. Can't do it.
Hey, you look at Winnipeg, how they emerged. It was from goaltending, and not the goaltender they thought it was going to be. Yeah. So
one last note on the Leafs, and we can wrap it up here. We talked about spending and positional spending. I did a few breakdowns on that with this piece. The Maple Leafs are the most balanced team, and it's a little bit ridiculous. The Maple Leafs they're ranked 24th in offense, 24th in defense, and 24th in goaltending.
Interesting.
Right across the board.
Well, see, that's because they brought in that analytics guy.
They balanced their
several years
checkbooks
ago.
properly over there.
Yeah. Well, also interesting, by the way, with the Leafs is, Brendan Shanahan brought in Lou Lamoriello.
That's right.
And they parted in the offseason, and Lou became GM with the Islanders.
Yeah. Collusion?
Well, not a collusion. And then they bring in Barry Trotz. The other notable thing is the Washington Capitals weren't willing to pay their coach. They paid everybody else, but they weren't willing to pay Barry Trotz.
He wanted a lot of money.
He delivered a Stanley Cup.
Great. That's last year.
I don't know.
Is he worth $5 million a year?
Sure.
Really?
That guy's listen.
They have the
I
highest
think any
payroll.
NHL coach is worth that much?
They're the highest payroll in the league. $91 million right now.
He was the first coach to get him to play as a team overall and deliver and win. He was worth it.
Okay.
He was worth it last year.
Because I think there's a perception out there that NHL coaches are the least impactful
That's
of
an
the
interesting
major
conversation to
league
have.
sports.
That's an interesting conversation to have.
Oh, I know. I've heard that from people.
Do you
I think there's some people that think, NHL coaches are, they're interchangeable. They change all the time. Half the people don't know who half the guys in the league are.
Do you know why they're interchangeable? Because they're the cheapest person to get rid of.
Okay.
You cannot get out of these contracts.
You're right.
So that's why coaches are interchanged all the time. But I'll tell you real quick the value of a coach. Look at a team that plays for a coach they hate. They don't play for him. Mm-hmm. So a value in a coach is a coach that the players respect and don't hate. They'll go out and play for that guy.
We don't hate you. Let's go, boys. And keep your feet moving. And don't hate your coach.
Hey, I
think it's amazing. What you said is amazing, and I know it's true.
More than any other sport, in my experience in professional sports, when the players hate the coach, they're doomed.
Well, we know it's not basketball.
We know it's not basketball.
Coaches don't even coach.
Right. We know it's not football, right? Because every football player hates their coach,
Yeah, I would
except
think
for
so. That's
Drew
probably
Brees and Peyton Manning.
Or Sean
Payton.
Yeah.
It certainly seems that way. Brady and Belichick, right? If we believe everything, they don't really
McCarthy
like each
and
other.
Rodgers, no good there.
Right.
Yeah. Pete Carroll and everyone.
But, it's onward and upward.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. Yeah, I guess hockey's probably more of a family than any other sport.
they
right?
spend these guys spend more time together than they do with their own families during a regular
that's probably
season.
right. It's a long year. They're kids. Generally, they're kids, right?
Kids.
These guys aren't lasting into their 30s anymore.
Yeah. But they've got all these big contracts, and they know this guy, let's get this guy out of here.
Yeah.
Believe me, it happens.
Yeah, but look at it's the Capitals. That's easy. You're paying $91 million to players. You're not paying $5 to your coach. That's just cash. That's cash. Hockey doesn't make that much money.
Well,
That's
the owner
cash.
does. Leonsis does.
Yeah.
He's got it.
Yeah?
He's got it. I've seen his bank account.
Have
He's
you?
got no.
Yeah, you are connected.
No. Listen, he $4 million was probably right for Barry Trotz.
You think so?
Yeah, to remain the coach. It's just odd that you win the Stanley Cup and you're gone, and you're going to a team that's not going to win.
By the way, I listened to a few radio shows out that way, and when this was all going down, the discussion was that it wasn't going to be they weren't going to pay him. It was that it was a Kirk Cousins situation that he wanted out. If you remember, he was basically on the firing block.
They were about
for
to fire him
24
years, right? Yeah.
About 2 years.
Yep.
I mean, he was the scapegoat for that team, not pushing past Pittsburgh for 2+ years. It was his fault. And then he finally got the job done and basically said, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
I'm done with this circus. And I don't think he even ever entertained the offer. So,
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think it was pretty much a reverse role. But
Went out on top.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He'll never have more juice and power than he did, so that makes a lot of sense.
Well, that would make sense because anybody who thought it's his fault they wouldn't beat Pittsburgh and not Sidney Crosby's or Evgeny Malkin's not paying attention. Okay. Hey, we covered so much stuff today on the SpotTrack.com podcast. So enjoy. Make sure you do a couple of things for us. Number one, check out the premium membership at SpotTrack.com. Number 2, make sure you rate us on iTunes or wherever you get your pods and give us a favorable rating. Tell your friends about it. Become a subscriber to the podcast so it's easily delivered right to wherever you get your pods, to your phone, your computer.
Speaking of, we're on Spotify now.
Well,
Made the jump.
Nice.
Made the jump. So if you're a Spotify member, there's a bunch of podcasts on there now, and we are one of them.
awesome.
So my Spotify is going to have 70s music and the Spot Track podcast on it now.
Make your playlist.
Can I just make some Spotify? Yeah. Somehow my kids have my Spotify account, and I'll be listening to music like on the treadmill or something. Okay, while walking, not running, and it'll get changed because someone's on another device. Whoa, what happened here?
Buy your kids their own account, Kevin.
There you go.
Wow, I've seen your bank account.
And Little Wayne popped on. You know why I don't have a separate account. Okay. For Mike Giannetti, the founder of SpotTrack.com, Paul Peck, I'm Kevin Sylvester. Thanks for listening to the SpotTrack.com podcast.